Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. Today is July the 27th. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I'm going to do your spiritual principle a day in a meditation. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer first. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and get into that screen and see what's going on. I don't know. I took that moment of silence, and I'm telling you the truth, I almost fell asleep. Oh, I gotta get it into gear. It's already 6:07 a.m. I need to get it into gear. I'm thinking about the things that I'm thinking about are relevant to my family. I want to make sure that I prepare something that they can have to eat when I'm gone at work. So I'm thinking about those things, and I'm thinking about going to the gym this morning. Okay, July 27th, Spiritual Principle Day. Our step one, surrender. Okay, so we're talking about the concept of surrender. Excuse me. Okay, so page 216. Only in working the first step do we truly come to realize that we are addicts, that we have hit bottom, and that we must surrender. NA Step Working Guide, Step 1, Opening Essay. We don't all enter the rooms of NA certain that we are addicts like those people. Some of us are dubious. Now that we have a couple of weeks clean, we remember our using days a bit differently. Was it that bad? Do we really have a disease? Sure, we have a problem with drugs, but it's not like we were ever arrested for it. We have a roof over our head and teeth in our mouth. Never have we exchanged sex for drugs, and all our student loan payments have been on time. Was our bottom so terrible? Was it terrible enough to warrant a daily surrender? An old timer offers some unhelpful advice. Maybe you aren't done yet. That sounds ominous. And we definitely have some sort of problem. So we stay clean and get a sponsor. We pick up the NA Step Working Guide and, at our sponsor's direction, begin to answer the questions as honestly and thoroughly as possible. By the time we get to the section on surrender, we've already written about our disease at length. Our profound dishonesty and denial, our manipulation of the people who loved and trusted us, all the laws we broke, even if we didn't get caught, the powerlessness over our addiction, our obsessiveness, our compulsiveness, our obsessive compulsiveness, the unmanageability we created in our lives, and the reservation we may be holding on to. Seeing it all there on the page, all that proof in black and white is undeniable. I am an addict. In an ideal world, that's the moment of surrender we never look back from. Sure, that happens for many of us. That's the beginning of our process of surrendering, opening the door to recovery. Others of us end up getting loaded, doing more research, hitting a lower bottom, and surrendering later. Still others never make it back. I've already done enough research. What is unmanageable in my life right now? What is unmanageable in my life right now? What am I obsessing about? What can I do to surrender today? You know what? This is like a 5-star. Today, this spiritual principle a day of our step one surrender, talking about our step one surrender, goes hand in hand with the just for the day in a meditation, right? Talking about we do recover, and it was talking about our first time surrendering and going to a meeting. And this is talking about, do we have enough research? Have we been convinced that we had a problem with drugs, that we were powerless over our disease of addiction, and that our lives had become unmanageable? I always tell people when I share somewhere, I tell them, look at, even if there's a stage that I hit in my story that you cannot identify, look at your own history. Just sit there, close your eyes, right? If you are having a hard time listening to me share because of the way that I talk or the way that I look, close your eyes and start thinking about your surrender. Think about your unmanageability. Think about your powerlessness over your disease of addiction. And then when you're ready, come out of that and rejoin the rest of us. Because we all have a story. We all have several stories, probably, that we can relate to, that we can talk about, that we can say, yeah, that right there, that's what convinced me that I was an addict and I needed to totally surrender. I needed to have an unconditional surrender. Let's look at our step one surrender and find out if that surrender was enough. Look at it and determine whether or not you need another one. And maybe the one that you need is the unconditional surrender. Maybe you're still holding on to something thinking that it doesn't qualify as a part of your disease of addiction. And I want to say the disease of addiction does not discriminate, right? It can take any behavior that we would typically say, oh, that's beautiful. It can take any simple behavior and twist it around in our heads so bad that we obsess and compulse about it continually. It can make loving your husband sickening. It can make taking your care of your children an obsession. The disease of addiction is something that lies between our two ears within our brain. And many people will never admit that it is a mental illness, because when you think about mental illness, you think about people in the psychiatric hospital walking back and forth talking to themselves. You think about schizophrenia or something, right? But it's been proven scientifically. That's why it's in the DSM now, 5, right? So it can take, this disease of addiction that we struggle with is more mental, and it can take anything that you would normally do in a positive manner, anything that would be on television as some, model for society. It can take those good things and in between our two ears, twist it around and mangle it to the point where we obsess about it so bad that it takes over us. And that's not what I want for you. What I want for you is to be thorough. I want you to be thorough about the application of a spiritual principle called surrender, and you are introduced to it in your first step. That's why writing the first step out is so important, because you write it out and you get to see on paper how your disease manifested itself. You get to see how unmanageable you've become is really a gift to yourself. And sponsees doing step work, they help me stay connected to the process. But the gift is really to themselves, because now you have written something, hopefully in ink, that cannot be erased, and you are able to see what you are doing, why you've been doing it, to the extent that you become unmanageable. It's a gift. It's like a beautiful diary that you go back and look at years later. I got rid of a lot of my steps because I was in a really unhealthy relationship and found out that I was sleeping with the enemy. I was leaving this man in my house. I think we had even started living together. And he had found my stack of steps, my journals, and had been reading them all. And I could not understand why every time I would come home, he was so mean, so mean. He was getting information about me that I had not even shared with him. And so if you have your journals, you have your step writing somewhere, and you have people around, even children can become very nosy, right? If you have your steps and you're in a house with another adult, I would throw those in the back of my vehicle. If it's my vehicle and I'm the one driving it all the time, I would put those in the trunk of my vehicle somewhere, where the person would not think that they would be. I would, because even the person that you think that you can trust the most can get nosy, can get curious, and yeah. So I think what happened in that particular situation, we were in an argument about something, about what type of men I'm interested in, and they had, basically been reading my journal areas about relationships and determined that why was I with them? That's what they were thinking, because they were not even similar to any of these people. And they made the mistake of mentioning the person's name, which in the journal, I would only use the person's middle name to begin with. So when they dropped that name, that was very unusual. It was very telling, because you would only ever know that name by reading a journal. It wasn't the person's first name. And what I had to do, I didn't check them about it. I just kind of, whatever debate we were in, flowed with it. But I took that information, I tucked it in the back of my head. And I'm trying to think if I took my journals out the house. I don't think I took them out the house, because I didn't want them to be alerted that I knew that they've been reading my journal. But what I did do is I made an opportunity for a huge argument about behaviors. I made an opportunity to extend some of our other arguments, and I let it get way out of proportion. And then I told them they had so much time to get out. And they broke down crying. And I called one of their best friends and I said, you need to come get them out of my house before something really bad happens. And that was it. Shortly after that, got with one of my sponsees and got her pregnant. And did that hurt? Yeah, that hurt, because the sponsee and I were pretty close. But I didn't ever think about him again in a positive way. And I never did. and still don't. So my thing is that you should be writing your steps. And if you're not in your home alone, you are in a relationship or you have family, you should be writing your steps to benefit yourself. But you also need to recognize that unless you take the precautions to keep that material between you and your sponsor and keep it where people can't just pick it up, you're opening the door to people to try to use your pad. You won't have the spirit of freedom to write what you need to write. But if you take the precautions to tuck that away where it cannot be easily found, up in a closet on a top shelf all the way towards the back, underneath a pair of shoe boxes or something, whatever it is, I want for you to be able to write your steps and know that that information is between you and God. And when you're ready to do your fifth step, it will be between you and another human being, right? Or cover your steps with your sponsor. But you need to do it because it's one of the greatest gifts you will give yourself. Believe me. Believe me. Right? So I know you can do it. I know you can. I know you can find a sponsor that you can work with. I believe in you. We all believe in you. And we want the best for you. We want you to be the best version of you that you absolutely can be. Right? No compromises, bar none. We're not compromising on self-love. We're not compromising on lost dreams awakening, new possibilities arise. We are not compromising on self-care. We are not compromising. That's what you can do, right? With this particular meditation, you can write a proclamation. I, Mighty Stream, love myself today. I, Mighty Stream, promise to take better care of my physical health today. I, Mighty Stream, am an attraction and not a promotion to my community. I, Mighty Stream, am wealthy and a philanthropist, and I help others attain their goals today. Right? You can write a proclamation, and you know what? I don't want it to be the most perfect proclamation. I want you to work on this. From now until the end of the month, I want you to say, by August 1st, I will have a proclamation that I can pull out when I sit down and I do my meditations with Mighty Stream. I can do these either before I listen to her or afterward. I want you to get in the habit of having that proclamation or this listed affirmations that you have written and have perfected by the end of the month. So you got 3 or 4 days here. And August 1st, I want you to go at that hard. I want you to have something so squeaky clean and tight that you're able to read it to yourself on a daily basis. And I guarantee you, between the 5 minutes of meditation where you're able to see how your racing thoughts are and calm yourself, and every time you see something come to you that is not relevant to meditation and staying still, just say, release. And get quiet again. And if it comes back, just say, I don't care if you have to say it 1,000,000 times. It's important for you to realize that unless you take authority over your being, unless you bring every thought captive, unless you do it, it will not get done. You will give the semblance outside of yourself of being a person in recovery and having it together, but the inside will still be messy. The inside will still be unmanageable. You have to take authority over those thought processes. You have to take every thought and take it captive and say, not today. Not today. I don't even have time and energy to try and fix, manage, and control somebody else's mess. I got enough of my own problems. And half of them I can't do anything with because I already let them get too far gone from me, right? But you can change who you are today. And I promise you, if you take that proclamation, Mighty Stream's proclamation, right? Rita's proclamation, right? Tanya's proclamation. If you take these proclamations and you begin to read that every day and start meditating every day, you are going to start to exude an energy, a force of God from within you that flows out like a mighty stream that people cannot contend with. They will either be drawn to you or repelled by you. And if they're repelled by you, they were not even supposed to be in your atmosphere to begin with. If they are drawn to you, you still need to question whether or not God sent them or Satan, right? The lower destructive power sent them. You still need to figure out in the spirit of prayer and meditation, why is this person in front of me? What is the nature of this relationship? Am I serving them? Is there something they need that God has put in me to give to them? Or am I supposed to be on the receiving end? Is there something that I'm supposed to be getting from them? And what is that? Only God can reveal that to you, right? Only God can reveal that to you. And then position yourself to get whatever you're supposed to be getting from them and move on in your life, right? I want a confirmation from you guys in some kind of way. All of you know how to reach me in some form or fashion, that you have your proclamation ready for August 1st, because you need to read those. These are I statements that will fill your mind and your heart and your spirit with positivity. I am happy. I am joyous. I am free. Mighty Stream. Mighty Stream, am free today. They have to be I statements, right? And with the proclamation, you put your name in there and then make the statement. You know, and try to get enough proclamations that can fill the time space of at least a minute to read. You don't want it to be so long, but you know, I got a book I started, it's got probably over 600 affirmations, I statements in it. And it's raggedy. I need to type it before I lose it, right? It is raggedy because I've ravaged the pages over the year. I've spilled coffee on it. But the power within it, and it's to the point it's so long I can't possibly get through all of them. But all I need is just a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes of reading some of those affirmations about myself, those I statements about myself, my proclamation, right? And I'm re-energized. So I challenge you to do that. I know you can do it. Let me know how it goes, okay? And I will be talking to you all tomorrow. Thank you for listening.